Hey everybody, it's Dave Dugdale, learningvideo.com. So was it a tie between this very small 6-inch travel distance slider, this is the Edelkrone SliderONE plus the motion module, versus the very large Konova slider? I think it was like a travel distance about 31, 32 inches. That one I don't own anymore. In fact, that video that you just watched, some of those clips, or like half of those clips, were from 6 years ago when I did my original Konova slider video. And basically the question I had was, could I do basically the same effect with this tiny little slider versus the big slider that I had 6 years ago? So I think the SliderONE with the motion module actually did really well in terms of the travel distance, the amount of travel that I was actually using, versus the Konova slider, which was a lot longer, but I might not have been using the entire travel distance to the one measure. You know, I was cutting on each measure, the 4 beats of that particular song, which is a little slow. So I think that was kind of a good song to use for this one. You know, if you're doing a lot of weddings or something like that, maybe you have an even slower tempo. But I think overall it did pretty well. Where it didn't do well, and I think you've probably noticed it, is the speed of the slider. So right now this is set to 40%. I'm going to turn it on for you. I'm just going to hit loop. And you can see the speed was just too slow. In fact, when I first started using it, it was just too slow. You can see 40%. Yeah, it's just not cutting it. And I brought it into the timeline, and I was like, no, that's not going to work for this particular song. So I'm just going to go ahead and increase it up to 100. And this is top speed, and that's pretty much where I kept it for the remainder of, you know, how I've been shooting. Just let it go as fast as you can. So last year, I've already actually reviewed this top part. This is called the SliderONE, the very top section you see here. The bottom part is called the motion module, and it just basically connects in, you screw it in, you're pretty much done. You start up the app, it's real easy. It detects it once you put in the battery. There's no on-off switch, and you just hit, you know, loop or whatever you're doing, and it works great. There's not much to it. So basically, going back to my Konova slider, I usually had to do about 3 different passes, you know, to get one clip that would actually look decent without wobbling or, you know, the speed being wrong or something like that. With this thing, I could do one pass and I'm done. And that's fantastic. Now, that's with the motion module. So with just this, which I can't actually do because it's locked into place right here, if I was just using the SliderONE and not the motion module, it would take me probably 5 or 6 times, because it's even shorter distance, and to ramp the speed up and ramp it down in such a small space is really difficult, at least for me. I've been using sliders for years, but I could never get it to where it would be consistently good. But the motion module does that for me. You just connect it up and it gets you the speed, and it works actually quite well. Now, the main reason I sold my Konova slider a couple of years ago was just too big. It was too bulky. I just didn't, you know, it would sit back in the closet over there because I'd never take it out, because I just didn't want to take it with me. It was just too big. I was too lazy, basically, I was coming down to. But this thing is so easy to just throw in your camera case. It's probably smaller than a 7200, and it might even weigh less than a typical 7200 2.8 lens that you might have. And it fits right in your bag. Really easy concept, just like, I think I'm going to use the slider. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I'm going to throw it in. Maybe I'll get 2 or 3 slider shots to help tell my story. Maybe I want to reveal something. It's just really easy to take with you. Our next step, as you can see, I'm putting it vertically, and I want to see how powerful the motor is, especially at 100%, because that's where I use it the most to get the most effect out of it. I'm just going to hit the A button, so it's going to travel up to the A button. Let's see if it works. All right, it struggled a little bit there, but it didn't make a whole bunch of noises. And that's with this is the A6500. There's a macro lens, and it's got a, you know, fairly, not beefy fluid head on it, but a sizable one from Manfrotto. So that works, but where it doesn't work is my friend had a 1DX, I believe, Mark II, a big 2040-70. We had the fluid head, and go ahead and listen to what happened. Let me see if I can get that noise. Oh, and it died.
Oh no. What was the problem? Is it too heavy?
It's just like slow it down. Yeah, it's like too heavy or something. Here, let's try it again at 80. There it goes.
Hey. You got your name on your thing too. There we go. That's cool. That worked.
It's complaining. All right, I just want to mention a few items that I've got listed here. One of them is when you have a motor, and let's say the sun's behind you and you're like wanting to hit the lens and light it up, well, it's also going to create a shadow from your head onto the ground or whatever you're doing. So having a motor is great because you can just walk out of the shot and not have the shadow be in there, and you're good to go. So that was kind of interesting. In terms of the speed at which you can get going, it's really, really fast. In fact, let me go ahead and demonstrate. I'm just going to head and turn this off, and I'm going to unplug, turn off basically. I'm going to pull the battery out, and I'm going to put the battery back in. In fact, I'm going to get out of the app. Watch how fast this is. So you put it in, and maybe I'll start a timer or something. And then it's going to do some sort of quick self-diagnostic type thing. And then we're just going to go to the app, and it's available right there, and I'm ready to go. And it's at 40%. So you can see how fast that was. If you had to go through like a whole bunch of Wi-Fi settings and passwords and crap like that, I probably wouldn't use it. But since that is so quick, going from shot to shot to shot, it's fantastic. One thing to mention on the battery, there's no on-off switch on this, which kind of stinks. Is you just basically put the battery in, which makes it simple. The battery lasts forever. In fact, these Canon batteries that I've had, I haven't charged them since probably 8 months ago. So, and I don't have a Canon charger, and yet I've been using just one of my 2 batteries, and it's been working. So I have a feeling that this motor doesn't take much power on the Canon battery. So that's definitely a good thing. Let's see what else I got here. It's really hard to be low on these shots. So for instance, if the Konova slider, it would have 4 legs and I could get it to be level. It was easy to get it in such a way to make it level. But here, as you can see from a picture right here, I actually put that board down on the grass because if it was on the grass, it was kind of wobbling around and it wasn't level or sturdy enough. So that's kind of a downside for this because you really need to exaggerate things. If you want the grass to be in the foreground, you need to get it on the grass. So there's no legs or anything. That's kind of a bummer. The only thing I can think of right off the top of my head, and if anybody has suggestions, let me know. But if you had like a little bean bag, maybe a not very thick, but a little bean bag like this, you could basically just put it down on the bean bag and mold it into being level, and then you could run your slides. And the last thing we got to do is talk about price. This top part, which is called the SliderONE, goes for $200. And when I did the review a year ago, I was like, oh man, I like it, but $200, it's awfully expensive. It was like, I don't know, around $100 or so, I would buy one. So I'm not proud of it, but I'll own up to it. This is actually not an Edelkrone product, this top part. It's made by Pro Aim. I think they're from India. I bought it off of Craigslist. And when I got it, I was like, man, this looks exactly the same. I mean, the milling and everything, dimensions it looked exactly the same. I don't know if it was like ripped off from the factory. I don't know what's going on there, but every time I do a review of Edelkrone type products, it's like, yeah, it works great, but man, it's so expensive. So I ended up buying this top part for a lot less than $200. And then the bottom part, which is the motion module, that's coming in at $400. And again, it's like, oh man, it's expensive. Man, if that was like $200, maybe $250, that would be a lot easier to swallow than $400 for this tiny little thing with a motor in it. But the app works great. Although, to be honest with you, like I said before, like a lot of those slides that I was doing, I just increased the speed all the way up to 100 because anything slower than that just didn't look right, trying to keep up with like my old Konova slider for that pacing of that particular song. Now yours might be different, but if this thing didn't even have an app and it had just basically you put the battery in and it just ran at one speed back and forth looping, that would, I don't know if that would knock $200 off of it, but I would buy that. So yeah, I'm probably not the nicest person not supporting Edelkrone for that, but man, if they wouldn't charge so much, I would definitely buy more of the products. So that's basically what it comes down to. So you could probably give me some hate comments down below for not buying it from them, but The motion module, that's a really good question if I'm going to buy it or not. $400 is a lot to swallow. In fact, I saw a used one motion module on eBay recently, so I've got a saved search for that. So if another one comes up and somebody's selling it for like $300, I'll probably buy a used one. So that's pretty much it. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.